So we're gonna start in a seated position. Again, this is just kind of intuitive for me. I've had, and maybe I'm taking on some somatic pain from others. I have had weird stomach pain that's
Uh-oh.
like feels so foreign. And the other day someone was like, I can't come, I have a splitting headache. And like instantly, like before reading the text, I had like the worst, just out of nowhere for 10 seconds, I had a splitting headache and then it went away. Um, so I want to focus in the like kidneys, the mid to low back today. And so we're starting in a seated, cross-legged, or you could come to butterfly if that feels nice. Really just starting to orient with the ground and with where you are in space time. So take hands to your feet, take hands to the insides of your knees. You might like to take a nice intuitive stretch on each side. I think that's where I'm going to start. Taking the butt of my hand to the inside of my thigh, my inner thigh, and kind of pressing away from the hip out to the knee, just to get some good pressure. And this also starts to stretch the side. So the side that's up towards the ceiling, I'm going to breathe, inhale into this side, expand alongside body. Exhale, my exhalations are really just starting to connect all the fibers of my being. I'm really just doing my best to come down into the field and land here and orient with my body. Um, People that live in the mind, like the mind, I was just talking about how the mind will really convince you that it's not part of the body because it's the consciousness's conduit to this plane is through the mind, but the mind is a part of the body. So, like, let yourself come out of your thoughts for just a minute. Let your ego, like, take a breath for just a minute and remind yourself that you're a person here. You're just like very much an animal, as like smart as you are and conscious and aware as you are. Sometimes we're a little too aware, right? Pattern recognition is off the charts. The world is a crazy place right now. Get a nice trunk twist. I'm sending one shoulder forward and one shoulder back so that my chest is facing out towards one of my legs. And you can use your hands on your legs or on the floor to brace. Really get a big inhale into your shoulders, into your upper back, into your scapulas. Kind of like, if I ever say scapulas, it's where your little angel wings would grow if you had them. So, like, right at the inside of the middle of your back, breathing long and wide, like you're stretching your shoulders in opposite directions. And you might take a reach here if it feels good to you. Exhale, really like not enhancing the twist, but just actually getting taller through your sit. So your pelvis might poke out a little bit, your butt pokes away from you towards the back wall, or it might tuck under depending on your predisposition, and then twist the other way. You might brace your hands, you might reach. Oh my gosh, if you're in the jam session, Tori Williams, I think it's Tori, Tori. Maybe it's Tony. Insane affirmations album. This is like my favorite album. This twist is bringing awareness to my traps. So I'm going to take a moment here to first reach wide as I can, reaching from my armpits. So feeling the stretch come across my chest. Inhale long, reach the fingers out each direction. Exhale, stay tall and cross elbow over elbow. So it doesn't matter which elbow is on top, but a lot of people try to like pretzel their arms through like this sort of thing. You're just going one arm on top, one arm on bottom so that your elbows stack. If you have a large chest like me, just go above. And with your inhales, you're going to breathe, inhale into the fingertips, reaching your shoulders out wide to either corner of the room. Exhale, your shoulders naturally drop as your top ribs fall, and your pelvis creates sort of a vacuum. This is where we can start to engage our pelvic diaphragm. And so now I'm feeling it in the hips. Let's take a stretch here. We're going to take a twist in both directions. You might cross, you don't have to go legs flat at all. You can put your knees up out in front of you, feet in front of you, and take that same twist again, but now focusing on the armpit, the trap, just releasing some of what might be in your neck as you twist, taking the pressure out of the hips and concentrating on the upper back, shoulders, scapulas. You might roll your head nice and slow. And if you're following along, go ahead and move to your knees. We'll be on hands and knees. But if you're following me and watching me, you'll see that I move in like ultra slow motion. And I think that's an important piece of it. So for this next piece, we're going to wake up traps and hips kind of at the same time. The body really works as a mirror. So imagine your mirror is right on your waist. Shoulders are like hips. Elbows are like knees. Wrists are like ankles. Okay, this starts to make sense with some of the positions that we'll take. But again, if you cut me in half here, you can see knees are under hips, elbows are under shoulders. We've kind of got some alignment happening here. The reason this is relevant is because we have two diaphragms in our midsection, and they have to work together to regulate our nervous system. So really, dysregulation is kind of a chicken or egg situation. Is it the environment that's changing the physical body that's like creating the dysregulation, or is it the physical body that's autopiloted to have this dysregulation that then manifests in the physical body? Both, either, neither, whatever you want to say. But these two diaphragms you have physical control of. Most people are only aware of their thoracic diaphragm, which is where like belly breathing comes from. And while we will do that, when you take a big belly breath, I really want you to focus on 360 expansion. So if you're following along, you might be like, my wrists are already tired. You can come up onto your feet or onto your knees tall. But I want you to take a moment just to kind of feel what I'm talking about. Inhale and feel your pelvic floor get closer to the ground, relaxing your inner thighs, relaxing the innermost groin muscle. This is all part of your lower pelvic diaphragm. It's what some would call the pelvic floor, but really it shouldn't be a floor. It should be movable like a diaphragm. So inhaling, big 360. My lower back ribs move closer to the back of the room as well. So everything gets bigger in all directions. As I exhale, I feel like kind of a Kegel drawing up through the pelvic diaphragm, up through the front core, up through my rib cage. My front ribs fall gently, so they're not out flared. Everything comes and connects in the forward front line of the body. Inhale into the traps, into the upper back, into the angel wings, into the lower back ribs. Release the inner thigh. You might take a little hip wiggle here. Exhale. With your exhale, make sure it's out of your mouth. So you can either blow out a candle on the ceiling, like blowing with force, or you can take an ah, where you drop physically. The chin gets longer and lower, the jaw opens, the mouth opens. Inhaling into the nose, cold air, expansion, exhaling. The force behind that exhale will start to activate some core stuff. And this might be, I mean, if you have the urge to bounce here somatically, like just breathing some expansion into your pelvic diaphragm could put your body into like, I'm tired now all of a sudden, or I'm hungry now all of a sudden, or I have to poop now all of a sudden. Because when we get both of these diaphragms working together in kind of like an ebb flow situation, it palpates the enteric nervous system, which is your gut lining, And the enteric nervous system is your fight or flight mechanism. So when those two diaphragms can work together like a wave, it palpates and calms down your nervous system and takes the body out of fight or flight. When the body's out of fight or flight, it can finally do the things that it's supposed to do automatically: digestion, hormone regulation, mood function, libido, stress, like hunger, all of these things that, like, when, oh, I don't have hunger cues. Yeah, no shit, you're on autopilot in fight or flight. So as you're taking these breaths, as you're taking these movements, take them in a grounding, slow, intentional way. Send your mind to the body part that we're breathing into. Inhale, feel the expansion of the ribs, feel the relaxation of the pelvis. Exhale, feel your body as it's strong and connected. The exhales are much more about lengthening the spine and connecting the core. With that, let's move into a hands and knees posture. And you might already need to stretch out of this. You can always roll a hand towel or a washcloth as like a grip in your hand. A weak wrist is like much more about the grip. So if you need to come and do fists with straight wrists, or hold a towel or hold a dumbbell, you can always do that. I would press back one leg at a time just to stretch out the back line of the body. Notice how much you want to rock and try to keep your hips on the same plane. Try to keep your balance distributed through both legs, not just coming down onto one. And you can switch it using the toes to pedal out the feet and stretch the back line of the leg. And it's really nice taking breaths in this position as well. So we're going to take this each one more time. Step the other foot back. A modification would be like, you could do this on a counter. If this feels a little bit better to do this from standing, you could do this from standing, where you just kind of do this. Make whatever modification you need. And if you ever need a modification, please ask for one. But taking that stretch back, can we now open the hip? Like, get a little twist just as you're stretching this back leg. Stack it. See if that feels nice in your back. Switch them. Stack that hip. You can see a better view actually from the back. It's like this hip is coming on top of this hip, but my shoulders are still generally squared off, just to put a spinal twist in there. And now let's take some circles. So these go really slow. We're just, maybe you put a little bend in your elbow. Maybe you lock in your hypermobile shoulders. I've got lots of cues for hypermobility because most neurodivergent people are hypermobile. But if you feel like your shoulders are in your ears at this point and your wrists are getting really tired, check the lockout on your elbows. Give yourself a little bit of a bend. Straighten your wrists and send your head, your ears above your shoulders. That should help. Exhale to find your core. That should help. And now we take these circles, just picking a side to start on, and you're just going to roll to your edges. So whatever that size circle you're drawing looks like doesn't really matter. Bigger doesn't necessarily mean better. Just find the edges of where there's slight tension, slight discomfort, where you're kind of giving yourself a massage from the inside. And that's what we're doing. So your shoulders might change, your back might change through this. But you're taking this movement intuitively. You can go the other way as well. Taking this movement intuitively and waking up the spine as a part of this. So as you make these circles, start to wake up the spine in kind of a snake way. This fluidity is very important to our balance, our regulation, our resolve. You need access to your fluid movement. And now I'm going to do the same thing with my shoulders. So I'm just telling you what's intuitively coming to me is to send one shoulder to the ground, kind of in this like final upper body twist. Really change the head position and find what position here stretches something through your collarbone. That's your vagus nerve draining. Take the other side when it feels good. Oh, one side's usually crazier than another. You could take this stretch all the way through to your fingers. Play with your head position. Inhale into whatever tension. Like once you find the juicy spot, you could stay there for 1 to 3 breaths. Just inhaling, expand a little more into that space. Exhale, find your core, find your like connectedness in your body. And you might just kind of move intuitively through these different like rounds for another 2 to 4 breaths. And when you've tired yourself of that, you can come up onto your knees. Mhm. I like playing around with feeling my shoulder and scapula because I do have hypermobility. If you do, I think it's helpful to take one arm on the bottom across as far as you can reach. Go above your chest so that you're really grabbing like that shoulder blade. And now reach your arm in front of you and give yourself a couple of like reach as far as you can. And then slide just from the shoulder. I'm not bending my elbow. I'm just sliding my shoulder back into place, and you can feel your shoulder sit down in that pocket. And give yourself a few of those. You might come out wide. You might come overhead. But just starting to feel the rotation that you have on each side. So the other side. You might be able to reach one like all the way around and not even get close to the other. That's all data. So some of this stuff for body awareness, it's just to help you get acquainted with your own body. A big part of this practice is just being willing to meet yourself where you are. So even noticing things that like, ooh, that feels really painful, or I feel nothing, that means nothing to me. It's not good or bad. It's just feedback that you have for your body here. And now that we've spent some time like getting our main muscles engaged, I want to take a beat to get our lymph involved. We're going this far, we might as well get our lymph involved. So we really have. When you get your diaphragm involved, you're activating this main lymph drain right below the sternum. And you might notice it's easier to access if you lie on your back. So feel free to lay on your back for this portion. I'm going to stay here so that you can see the visual that I'm pointing to. But some of this might feel better on your back. Um, Anyone who's done a session with me can attest. It's not extra to go grab some pillows. If it feels nice to put pillows on the outsides of your legs so that you can drop your knees. I'm assuming you're hypermobile. I know you can drop your knees all the way, but take note of the difference when you put pillows on the outside to support your legs and it doesn't change too much of the rotation of your pelvis. It might also feel nice if you have some neck tension or like shoulder blade trap tension laying on your back. It might feel nice to put a pillow under your upper back, like neck area. It might feel nice to do both. But I'm going to stay here just for demonstration purposes, and I want you to use your hands kind of as tools. So let's start just by giving yourself a hand right around this sternum area. Let mine be awkward as a sign of like, figure out what works best for you. Might feel better to put your hand on the lower part of your upper chest. Might feel better to come up under here. so that your hands, like your sternum ends right under your hand. That's kind of where I would recommend, but it might be awkward for you. Um, but get a hand right around here where your ribs start to open. And then get another hand way lower than you think. Like your pinky should be overlapping your pubic bone. So you're getting one hand really low and one hand really high, just for body awareness. As we start to breathe into your back, like the back line of your body that's touching the floor, it might feel nice to float your elbows up towards the ceiling. It's going to create some space in your like lats and shoulder blades that you might not otherwise have. And it might feel nicer if you start to get low back, anything to scoot your heels a little closer to your butt. Give yourself a little bit more vert in your knee bend. You'll feel a little more relief in your low back. But I want you to spend about 10 breaths inhaling nice and low. This jam session's getting, oh no, it's good. It's like, it sounds like it's getting like kind of lit. Okay, inhaling into your inner thighs. I just go straight past like the belly breathing. I think that heart is probably the session's getting lit, but this is that album I was talking to you guys about. Inhale past your hands into your inner thighs, releasing your inner thighs, relaxing the arches in your feet. Hypermobile people unconsciously draw up their arches and maintain their ankles because we're tired of freaking rolling our ankles. Well, it helps for not rolling your ankles, but it's not good for inner thigh tension and pelvic floor dysfunction. This can make it hard to activate your core if your inner thighs are always on. Makes it hard to load your glutes as well. That's for another day. Inhaling into those relaxed inner thighs, exhaling, start to feel that lower hand moving through this process. Just gently. I'm thinking visually when I'm inhaling, I'm like filling a glass, right? So the top hand is going to move towards the ceiling first, and then the bottom fills up as well. When I'm thinking about exhaling, I'm thinking about zipping up a jacket, like from the bottom. Zipping it up means exhaling. The breath goes up towards the other diaphragm. And then when that diaphragm gets to exhale completely, I'm going to feel my front ribs kind of close and get closer to the ground. So I'm going to exhale to get rid of that bottom hand, and then exhale. I feel my top hand getting closer to the floor, and ultimately those ribs are kind of crunching together. Gently gaze down your shirt without picking your head up off the floor. Inhale into that back line of your body, the back of your neck, your traps, your shoulders, your back ribs. Relax the inner thighs. Exhale, zip up the jacket. Feel like, interesting. This is like your first 1,000 breaths are really data collection of what the hell happens when you start to attune to both of your diaphragms. What starts to lock up? What starts to feel weird? What did you not realize that was on until you turned it off, and now it's immediately back on and you didn't even realize that you turned it back on? These are some of the like subconscious ways that we hold tension in the body. Totally normal. It's how the body orients itself. Besides something, you guys can keep breathing. Besides something acute that happens, like obviously if you get hit by a car, you break your leg, like that was an acute injury. But like if you wake up one day and your shoulder's hurting, it's not necessarily that something just happened to your shoulder. It could be that like you've been compensating for weeks on a hip thing with your shoulder, and now your shoulder is starting to get tired of that compensation, and it's really a hip thing, which is really a foot thing that you had no idea about. The body is kind of cool and mysterious that way, but these orientations are subconscious, and they're not a good or bad thing. It's a good thing ultimately that your body is looking out for you and preserving you. It's your job to just attune to it. So as we inhale, you might start to realize that the more conscious you become of where your hands are breathing, where you're trying to breathe into, the more it might get harder and harder to fill up that bottom hand. And you're like, what the hell? But Somatically, you might be holding stuff in your hips, in your pelvis that now your mind doesn't want to bring awareness to that place, that spatial place. So just be gentle with yourself. Just notice and attune to some of like the natural things that happen kind of without your consent that you weren't aware of. Just become aware of them. So we're breathing inhale into this space, exhale, zipping up the jacket. I want you, as you do these next few breaths, to start kind of palpating right around where those ribs open up. So there's kind of a little like soft nubby, like right under your sternum. That's lymph. You don't need to mash that. It might instantly, though, be like, ooh, that's kind of tender. You can palpate. By palpate, I just mean like using the backs of your finger pads to just put a little pressure. I can feel my ribs on this side and my ribs on this side, and I can feel the middle where they're squishy. And then I want you to feel like the line of your ribs. So you might take thumbs, you might take knuckles. If you have fingernails, like I have long nails, sometimes the nails are actually kind of clutch, like they can kind of scoop right under that bone is where you want to go. This is where your fascia is like the one ocean of tissue that connects everything, connects your muscles, connects your bones, connects your ligaments. And fascia is what my practice is built on, the theory that the body holds repressed emotion in the fascia. And so if you're feeling really particularly tight, I've been doing this for years and I still have moments of tightness. So let your body talk to you and have a dialogue with your body. Don't put yourself in a position that feels really uncomfortable or really violating. Be soft with yourself. Change your touch from like exploring and kind of like I'm using my fingers as a tool to like get into my ribs to more gentle and just aware. I can just instantly turn my fingers into like a little pat pat. We're here, it's okay. And go back to breathing into your hands. The hands serve as tactile feedback so that you can visualize where the oxygen is going in your body. So as we have hands on body, anywhere we have hands on body, focus to intentionally send the inhalation to that physical touch and make that touch like work for your level of safety in the body. So you can get a little bit more like curious, I say curious exploration, a curious observation where I'm just data collecting and like there's no judgment and there's no right or wrong for me. It makes my body much more receptive to touch. If the body feels like you're judging, it's going to be closed off, and that's okay. Like that's a coping mechanism and a safety mechanism, and you have to respect that and you have to meet your body where you are. The more you respect your own boundaries there, the more your body will start to feel safe and open up to you. And this is a cumulative practice. It gets better every single time you do it, just because of your own connection with your body. So, as we're kind of getting into this rib cage, diaphragm, lymph stuff, just be gentle and compassionate with yourself at whatever feels safe, whatever feels comfortable. You can always return to the breath here. I'm making my way down the ribs into my sides. This little place of where basically if we cut yourself in half and mirrored yourself, shoulder opposite hip, rib cage opposite hip, pelvis, like the body genuinely looks like a mirror. Rib cage sits opposite pelvis. If front ribs are flared out, then the body isn't in alignment. It can't be in alignment unless the pelvis is pointing up towards the ceiling and the rib cage is pointed down. In your case, if you're on the floor, you're horizontal. But there's no massive crazy arch. The pelvis is looking up at the rib cage is looking down at the pelvis. So feel where your ribs open up Feel where you can walk your fingers down. Feel the direction, even if you just lay a hand on the top of your ribs. Are your fingers looking up at the ceiling or are they looking out at the wall behind you or at the wall in front of you? If your fingers are tipped towards you, towards your face, your ribs might be flared up. It's a really good cue to know that if your fingers, this is like a magician, right? If your fingers are looking at you and your hand is kind of floating up towards the back wall, you probably have low back pain. But that's real. The body responds that way. So right now we're waking up this lymph. We're giving a little bit of pressure and feedback to say, hello, we're here. We're getting into these sides. This is where in like Chinese medicine, they say that fear stays stagnant here in the body, in the back. So I like to use my hands as kind of a scrape tool to scrape across the low back down towards the front hip. So you're taking this kind of pathway. Probably feels really good. Like it equally feels like, ow, but also, ooh, like that's kind of nice. Your psoas runs from the front of your body to connects to this back rib. So it's like the same pathway that can get really stagnant here, can also create really like frozen muscle, of frozen muscle here that's not warmed up and stretched, that can create low back pain. So this feels really nice, but then we've got to get into the hips. So as you're moving things from your back down your waist, down to the front hip, let your hands start to find where that pelvis opens up. Touching on what you think is bone is good because the like cling sheet over the bone is your fascia. So when you find a piece of tension in here and you're like, oh, that kind of hurts, you're not like bruising your bone. You're finding like a wrinkle in the sheet, in the cling sheet, and you're kind of just like warming up that fascia so that it can like steam out the wrinkle. It's how I like to think about it. That wrinkle of tightness that you feel in your waist could change your pelvic floor completely. You might feel like you need to pee now. You might feel like you need to poop now. All normal. Your belly might be like, and you're like, whoa, what the fuck? It's because you're like getting all of this connected. And if you look at the musculature of the pelvic floor, it's equal and opposite exactly of the diaphragm. And then the gut, the stomach lining, the gut-brain axis, literally our fight or flight mechanism is controlled by how well these are like flushing and moving the lymph, the lymph, the lymph, the lymph, the lymph. So like this stagnation, again, it's a chicken or the egg, but this stagnation can really be what gets your body into a relaxed rest and digest mode because it's just literally stuck in fight or flight. I work this pelvic like sheet fascia all the way down to the top of my pubic bone. You might have never touched the fascia above your pubic bone. I didn't until very recently. And boy, was it sore. So just notice where it goes from bone to squishy and give yourself like a tiny millimeter massage along this bone in either direction. So I'll go kind of from the middle over to one side, and oh my God, when you start to feel the garden peas, like the frozen veggies under the skin, that's wrinkles in the sheet of fascia. That is just stagnant, like gnarled pieces of fascia. And I had an acupuncturist once that like all she could focus on was like, damn, but you have so much of these, like, it wasn't normal. Like, it's not part of a healthy, like, this is what a dysregulated nervous system creates. And like 100% of the time, the people that I work with have these garden peas on their inner thighs, in the crook of their pelvis. But this is what relates to the theory of repressed emotion, right? Because we know that people hold emotions in the same places in their bodies, whether it's fear, suppression, anger, shame. And so again, be gentle with yourself if things start to feel heavy. If things feel heavy for the next few days, things might feel amazing for the next few days, just breathing space into this non-judgmentally. But really we're doing twofold. We're like exposing ourselves and being aware of what emotions might be here, but we're also just attuning to the tension and the discomfort in the body. Notice what feels tight here in all of these little joints, and know that like one hip is usually way more tender than the other. Hips and shoulders are kind of equal and opposite. So if you have a super hypermobile shoulder, you might have a really wonky opposite hip. Could be vice versa, could be trauma in the hip that created stagnation in the vagus nerve of the opposite shoulder, but it all works in these mirrored ways. Now you can do the other side, go from the top of the pubic bone, give yourself a little massage. I'm just going like gentle up, down, up, down, up, down, up, down, maybe a little side to side, maybe a little circle, but kind of small, gentle movements, working along the top of this bone, and then it gets really gnarly here. And once I get into this crook of my crevice of my hip, it gets really gnarly. Just go with it. Um, Women who bleed, don't be alarmed. If you have a little spotting, that's normal, especially if you have PCOS or hemorrhagic cysts or endometriosis. I would say don't stab yourself to the point of pain. Like if you feel pain, shooting pain, ow, ow, that could be a cyst. Don't massage it out. But the little frozen vegetables under your skin is okay to put pressure on. And any sort of not bone tissue that you want to put pressure on is totally fine, totally safe to put pressure on. But know your body, you're only so much space on the inside that could have cysts. So if you find a cyst, that happens. And I've dealt with cysts and I've had tons of clients with PCOS. So if you have more questions about that, we can always deep dive into that. We're gonna make our way out of the hips, but give your thighs some love here, kind of as we wrap up this space in the hips. Give your inner thighs some love, give your pelvis some love. You might give your hands a little warmth in the low back just to thank yourself for being so receptive. Your body had no idea what the fuck you were gonna do today. All the way into the knees. And if you want to take a figure four, you can do this with hands behind you, or you can do this on your back. But just to kind of stretch out what might be stagnant in the ankle shin, I like this kind of a movement. You might just take a traditional figure four where you press that knee away from you. You might drag your knee along the line of your shin. Your body is really intuitive, and really a lot of my class is just teaching you how to use these tools on your own body. This is our cricketing. We cricket while we watch TV. These are things you can just start to fold into your regular life that are no extra energy. And also, it's important to have a toolbox when you're low bandwidth. I know this will resonate. When you're low bandwidth, you got to know what things, yes, cost you something on the front end, but pay out tenfold in terms of the energy that you get back. And this is really the hack to navigating burnout. I think BE would agree with this tip because I think intuitively we find our own way to survive burnout. But if you're not privileged to just like quit your job or whatever, you have to get strategic. And for me, this practice is something that, even as low barrier to entry as it is, I understand in the depths of burnout, it's still a barrier to entry. And it does cost you something to show up and do this practice. But I think on the back end, it's so rewarding because it's the manual tool that you have to put yourself in a regulated nervous system rather than being on autopilot. You get to put yourself back in the driver's seat. And like a big weekly clean does that for me too, right? It's like, ugh, I avoid all these things, but if I just plan once a week to do it and I get it done, then I don't have to have anxiety about how messy things are getting. I know that I'm going to take care of everything on a weekly basis, and I really dread the task, but I sleep so much better. It's like very similar to that, find those things for you. We're doing great on time. So now that we're out of the hips, you might come back to this butterfly. You might come to like a little crisscross, but I want you to spend just a few moments in your feet and ankles, and then we'll do equal and opposite in the shoulders, elbows, wrists, but elbows and wrists take a little less time. They're a little smaller, wouldn't you say? I also have lipedema. I don't know if anyone else like knows about this or has this, but if you have lipedema or lymphedema, we can deep dive on that as well. It's a comorbidity with a lot of connective tissue stuff, as well as trauma. So you might be like, maybe I have that. What the hell is that? The tell is like really in the calf. They get kind of puffy calves, fat deposits around the body. But because of that, I do spend a little bit more time in my ankles. Nothing might come up for you here in your ankles, but for me, I want to put my thumbs in the back of my ankle where this kind of turns into a calf here and give myself a little bit of a massage here. And I like to do the same on the front line. This line along the shin bone is like a very important piece of traditional Chinese medicine. Can't tell you everything about it, but I can tell you it's like a meridian of some sort. So it's beneficial for you to have circulation here regardless. So get nice into your calves, get into your ankles. Again, with all of this, like you might notice initially, oh, that's kind of painful. That feels kind of weird. If you feel that, the body is pain averse, but just challenge yourself to stay with it, inhale into it. You're building up your window of tolerance when you can present yourself with something chaotic or something that doesn't feel good and stay with it. You're showing your body that like you're safe and that you can be in charge and decide when you need to panic and when you don't need to panic. Um, you might take a little crack on your big toe. You might crack your toes here. You might just massage inside this big toe, second toe, like pad. This arch, and again, if you roll your ankles a bunch, this arch might be really tight. This side bunion might be really tight. The top of your heel here might be tender. Just take some time. And again, you might have felt everything in your hips and nothing in your ankles, but somebody might be feeling the opposite right now. So just take whatever time you need. And then we're going to get into the armpit and collarbone area. So if you do have like a t-shirt, you might just want to reach into your t-shirt so that you can put hands on skin. Also option to, I'm going to show you a couple of points in the face, but option to add a slip like a lotion or an oil in your décolletage if you're worried about wrinkles. I don't want to fuck up anybody's aging progress. So this is sensitive skin if you don't want to drag on it. But I do want you to open up these lymph pathways. So I have very easily identifiable collarbones because of my tattoos. You're going to find your collarbones just below the bone. And it might initially feel better to like find them both at the same time, but let's just do one side at a time. You're taking little circles. You can either use your fingers or you can use your knuckles to just send little circles along this collarbone up towards your shoulder. And you can do that and then go like down a rib and do it again. Go down a rib and do it again. You can really work all of this side from the sternum over. All of the breast tissue flows up into the armpit as well. So you have anxiety because you have the breast cancer gene? Just start massaging your breast tissue. Start there. I'm speaking to myself. I think a lot of times with neurodivergence is a thing now. So everything is a fucking comorbidity because neurodivergence is a dysregulated nervous system. So is everything else. Like it can feel like things are piling on and it's too much to digest and it's too hard to know where to start. When you look at it as 50 different things, yes, it does feel that way. When you zoom out just one layer and you can see that the root cause underlying is pretty much the same thing across the board, it becomes very easy to address because then it's like, okay, so I just need to address my nervous system. Problems solved. And the reality is, no matter what you address or what you're predisposed for, you still don't have control. So really, we're just like grappling with the uncertainty that it's just like more to be uncertain about. Reduce, reduce your worry. There's enough going on. Yeah, it's really important. Lymph, lymph runs the whole show, in my opinion. I'm spending some time here getting into my armpit now. I'm really finding what's mushy around this shoulder. Like I've got some muscle, but even if you don't have muscle, you've got bone. And then you might have some garden peas. You might have some mushiness. I just want you waking this up, specifically on the left side. So if you're doing the right switch, if you're doing the left switch, you can always spend a little bit more time in the left armpit though, because the left is such a much bigger drain for the body. I think the right side drains like, oh, don't quote me, like 8 to 10 cups of lymph, and the left side is like 30. Like it's like an insane drastic difference. Um, the left side is just responsible for a lot more lymph drainage. As you're getting into this armpit, you can come up under the armpit, like from the bottom of this chest tissue, feeling your ribs kind of guiding up here. Everything below the ribs drains here. Everything below the waist drains here. But everything above the rib cage and in the rib cage drains into the armpit. If you smoke, like me, I'm a confirmation. I partake in cannabis. Your lungs are in your back. So like you've got to move all of your drains so that you don't get stagnation. This is inward and outward, like your external fascia, but also your internal breath has to reach the edges of the tree of your lungs to really keep from having stagnation and congestion and build up in the lung tissue. So your breath is just as important as your massage here. Breathing into where your fingers are. Find your back ribs, find where we held those scapulas earlier and get all that nastiness, gooiness pulling in towards the armpit. And then you might start to pull over the trap, and this one feels really good. Feel free to change your arm positioning. You might notice that arm overhead or arm out to the side helps really access and get that trap squishy. Ideally, you want it to feel less like a train track and more like a melting ice cream. That might be a big ask, but like that's really what you want to happen. And you can switch, put that same hand on that trap and give a little shimmy, might also feel nice. Before I get into the jaw, I'm just gonna do equal and opposite side. So take as much time as you need here, but make your way into the other armpit, other shoulder. Really use your hands as tools. Your thumb is strong. The butt of your hand, very strong. Your knuckles, strong. This feels really nice, taking like a pet paw, like a dog paw, across and into your armpit. Oh, yeah. Working through this like side rib, side breast tissue, around the back of the scapula, around the top of the shoulder. And then I eventually move that into like same hand, same side, because I can reach a little deeper into my upper back with the same arm. Sometimes, if you're really hypermobile, you can get into that, but feels right on the right spot when I use my other hand. All right, we're in the home stretch here. All I want you to do now is take hands on elbows, one at a time, probably. Right above the elbow. Just give it a little massage here. Walk it up to your wrist. Switch hands. Walk up your arm. Stop right above the elbow here. Right on the back side, like right above the elbow, below the tricep, like almost in the inside point. That's another lymph point. So if you're like, ooh, that feels really weird and sore, only on one side. Yeah, like writing helps make one side less sore. Like every body is a little bit different. Last thing, we're just gonna relax our vagus nerve. So give yourself like a 2-finger massage where front finger comes like just in front of the ear. Back finger is just behind the ear. You're kind of saddling the top of your jawbone where it's going to connect to your ear. You're kind of going up, down, up, down. I'm not actually dragging my finger across the skin. My skin is moving across the bone, if that makes sense. You can open your mouth, drop your jaw. You can take a side to side. I'm directing my head with my fingers. I'm not moving my head, I'm moving my fingers, and that's what's moving my head. Take a little side to side where you're pulling, pulling, pulling. You can take your circles. And then you just gently walk that down. There's like a tendon here, and you're just moving along the front side of that tendon. It feels quite natural and intuitive to just pull down along this front piece. And then you might need a little extra love in the collarbone if it feels like a lot. But you'll see when you like look at the mirror later, you're gonna be like, what the hell? You can see how much I've got just movement there instantly just from doing that little pump in the face. And if taking a side head bend here feels nice, go ahead and take that as your final like movement. Maybe take a neck roll. A reach. Ooh, a nice reach to put a bow on the class. An hour goes by quickly for me, at least. I hope it went by quickly for you. Take a nice stretch, shake it off. A final inhale into the nose. And a nice calm exhale. You might take 2 or 3 of those. Happy first class. Hopefully it's everything you didn't expect.
That was fantastic. Oh my goodness, thank you. Wow.
Thank you.
Yeah. I'm going to go ahead and press end the recording, but before I do, for anyone listening, we will be with Olivia twice monthly, and if the crowd grows, we'll maybe do weekly. So come to the class. Come to the class. We'll see you in the, wait, when
Yeah,
did we schedule already for the next one?
we did not. We should pick a date for that.
Okay.
I'm reading the comments now. I'm happy to stay on since it's a live one. I'm happy to stay on another like 2, 3 minutes if anyone has questions or feedback. I'm reading some of these as activating things I don't think it's meant to activate. Trust your intuition, but I would say maybe it's meant to activate. Like, I think the body won't show you something you're not ready for, which is why I don't believe in pushing a big catharsis. Like, you'll know if you need to back off. You'll know if you want to be curious. Once you're ready to be curious and judgment free, your body will let you. So long as there's some judgment there, like, trust it and ease off.
Yeah. April, you were asking, can we do the class at 6? We're going to poll to see what times work best for people for future classes. So thank you for
Cool.
asking that. Yeah.
Yeah. Just my thought too was like not just for myself, but like, the 9 to 5ers in general.
Yeah.
Like
Probably need.
yeah. So I would have done it at work, but like I don't have even like a safe space at work. You know what I mean? Like I made a
Yeah.
point to log on, but like my office space is not supportive of it. Like, so yeah.
Well, I
And
generally
like,
like a wind down time anyways, like when you can kind of then be done for the day afterwards. I don't hate
right,
that. If
cool.
you're
Right.
able to
If
like
that
cut
that
loose at
that
the end of it.
too, that
Yeah.
if I had a safe space or if there was like and even the surrounding areas is like on the edge of nowhere, industrial. So it's not even like I could go to a park and like sit either. So I'm like a little stuck. But I was really excited about for it. Cheese. And
We still got to
it's
have you.
something that I want and I need for sure. Because I always think that I'm doing the breath work wrong, like during yoga class, and like it's really challenging for me in general. And then I got it, and then I lost it, and whatever, you know the deal. But like
Yeah.
I'm watching now, I got off of the train, and I'm like, wow, there's a whole massage element. So thank you for recording it, Brittney, so I can revisit it. Still have the opportunity, but I'm definitely one of those people who need
Later.
to be present and I need
I think that's good.
supervision.
Yeah,
I cannot be left to my own devices because I won't do shit. So that's it.
I hear you.
Okay,
I
well,
love that.
we'll pull it
So
out.
thank you.
Yeah.
Cool.
Thank you so much, Olivia. That was fantastic. I feel like at certain moments too, I felt like tearful weirdly, especially like in the beginning when we like hugged ourselves. I think I really needed that. It helped me to have a release all the way in the beginning. So thank you so much.
Love that.
Oh my God.
Oh, yay.
Okay, I'm gonna press end recording. Thank you, and we'll see you in about 2 weeks. And yeah, I'm so excited. Okay.
Thank you so much, everyone that came. I know it's new for your body, so thank your body for letting you show up. It can be scary. Hopefully, it pays off in the days to come. Feel free to DM me too if things come up down the road.
Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and press stop.